Good morning and welcome to another episode on the Coin King channel. It's your girl Down to Crypto TA. I'll allow you to read the disclaimer here real quick. It rolls across the bottom of the screen. Anyway, Ethereum is murdering the market Saturday morning. Um, we're gonna kick things off taking a look at the Ethereum chart. All right, so Ethereum. I wish the stream had started soon enough, but whatever, right? Okay, so we have a little bit of liquidity that I was trying to map out here on the chart. I did take a look at a couple of things yesterday. Yesterday I did take a short. I took a little bit of a short right here. Like I said, I didn't expect for it to do too much. Didn't have to do too much. And let's see if I got her in here. Actually, I don't think I do, because this was beforehand. So this was before we managed to get up here, which is where I said Ethereum had to take liquidity from either the bottom side here, I would look to get long, or it has to take liquidity from the top side here of the range at the 4,008, and then I look to take a short position. And so that is what I ended up doing yesterday, is I took a little bit of a short right here. And you're probably thinking, okay, Ethereum is so bullish, why even bother looking for a short? Because when you have Ethereum already in your possession, your spot bag, sometimes you just want to play around in the market and look for something in the other direction. There's no harm in playing around. All right, so let's see what this was right here. So that was the marker here on the chart yesterday for the short position, and didn't expect for too much to happen to it. I thought we could at least come back down here to tap here. We didn't. We started flagging out a little bit, been building up quite a few flags here along the way for Ethereum. You can see here a couple of different flags that it has broken out of throughout this entire little uptrend here. And the most recent one, there is a little bit of a trend line here, and it currently just got the bounce away from this level, actually. So I wish I could have been on here in time for that. But I mean, again, this is Saturday. It is the weekend. I wouldn't get too overly excited, because some of this to end up going back into the market, possibly going back into the market on, I would say Tuesday. Monday's really false move Monday. But you can see this trend line here coming up. How we rejected each time. I actually did take another scalp short here, and I cut it off of this candle right here. So I didn't ride it all the way back down here to back test the weekly range. Like I said, my levels they slap. So I didn't ride it all the way back down here to the weekly range, and then we got the bounce up. I took a scalp long in here once I saw that we was putting in this little flag. So I got short here, I got long here, I got short here, and then I closed out everything because I was tired. So that was when I ended my scalp over here. I was tired and it was time for me to get some rest. And it's the weekend also, so not a lot of trading is going to take place for me over the weekend. But currently, right now, bouncing off of this trend line, we start to lose this trend line and come back inside. You could start to look here. I know that there is some liquidity building in here. I also hear Binance is selling off a bit, which I try not to let things like that be too much of a distraction, because there are people who are willing to step in and buy. And my voice is cracking this morning. It is cracking this morning. There is more liquidity up ahead here as well. So you have the 4278, which is up here. But I already shared yesterday where I thought, what one of the scenarios could be for, and I did something like this. Let me go to no, I'll do it from here. So what I said yesterday was that we could do something like this. Come back in. Think I did it something like that. And then we could bing bong around in here and get all the way up to The next level up here for Ethereum is going to be this one here. So, I mean, that's not a perfect representation. We would zigzag a little bit more, of course. And then that 4707 would be your next level of interest. 4707.21, that's your next weekly range. Of course, the all-time high is just sitting slightly above this. So I do expect for it to break above it a little bit, and then you'd be looking for it to come back inside of it the same way it happened over here, which it didn't break outside of it too much here, just really just pierced it ever so slightly before getting a little bit of a rejection there. But coming back down, you do want to see it maintain this trend line right here. But if it starts to break this trend line, then your first zone of interest would likely be this, just where you have this pivot at in here. So 41.43 to 41.35. Let's say 41.35, and let's just say you see something. You always want to see something like that. You want to see it break a level and then come back up the level, right? That's what you want to see, if something like that were to happen. So you want to see it break the level and then reclaim it, and then you could look to get long on that. If you're trading the weekend anyway, if it continues to respect this trend line right here, I mean, you can take some risk from here and just look for it to continue up. That's what I would do here for good old Ethereum. Now, like I said, I was trying to map out a couple of things here in terms of the liquidity, because they're quite a bit of longs are being very aggressive with these moves. So you're getting these really shallow pullbacks on Ethereum, and then you're just continuing onwards and upwards. So longs are being very aggressive. And take a look over here at the CoinGlass liquidity heat map here, and you can see. And so this is the liquidity heat map, not the liquidation heat map, but the liquidity heat map here. And you can see how with each one of these little small moves down here, you see these long orders just stepping in. Some long orders set up in here too, just to kind of back test that high, the one that I told you that I took that little scalp short from. So to back test that high in here, do have a nice little fair value gap in here. It's tested just a little bit here. So could do something like that. Really, that is where your next support level is at. But like I said, very aggressive longs stepping in on Ethereum right now. So this thing can just continue onwards and upwards. Onwards and upwards. Let's see. There are some zones much higher up, but that weekly range where I pointed out to you around that 41.7, no 47, sorry 47.07. This is the last weekly range here, because of course you have that all-time high up there. So just bing bonging around in here at the moment, bouncing off of this trend line right here, and looking to get that continuation up. And we'll see how it performs in here. Now there was a actually what I did yesterday. Yeah, what I did yesterday was this here. So this is what I did yesterday. So when I saw us coming up here into this liquidity here, it was pretty large amount of liquidity, not too far away from the weekly average range as well. So this was what led me into taking that little scalp position right here. Now this one, like I said, that was it for me. After this, that was it. It's the weekend. I'm not going to be doing too much. I'm definitely not going to be looking to take any short positions on Ethereum, not over the weekend, because liquidity is a lot lower, and the people who are bullish, they are definitely going to drive prices up. So if you're doing anything on Ethereum chart this weekend, I'd just be looking to take the longs or just staying out of the market altogether. So the second bottle liquidity up here, this one actually, we blasted through this one. So this has been changed here. This second one has been changed, and I was about to move this one here, because I need to raise it up now for where that pocket of limit longs are sitting at. And then let's take a zoom out here. Just look at some of the larger picture here, because this is a 15-minute time frame. So let's just go over here to let's go to the monthly time frame. So if you don't know, and let me hide a little trend line here for a sec. Just a gauge here on the bigger time frame here, so you can see how this is our next level here, and then of course you have the all-time high here for Ethereum. Nice little triangular formation in here that I have been, I've had this on the chart for quite a while now, because of course Ethereum has been within a range for like an entire couple of years, to be honest with you. For a few years, Ethereum's been inside of a range like this range here of this high. So there's a huge mother bar here, and we've just been doing this on the inside of it. So down, up, down, and we just broke this here once we managed to get above the 4008. That is where we got the breakout of this long standing triangular formation here for Ethereum. So what do we think that this is going to go to? I hear a lot of people say 10,000. My target is like $1,000 underneath that. So that's my best case scenario for Ethereum, and I could put in a midpoint in here. But my target for Ethereum is simply based on inside bar projections or mother bar projection. That's it. I use that quite a bit in my strategy. Is range breaks. So we will start to break the range. Like we're already finally yesterday got the break outside of this let's say it's a symmetrical triangle. It's very symmetric. So we've already gotten the break up out of this symmetrical triangle, and so I would I would be looking at my measure move, to be honest. Which this is the range here. So for a few years, Ethereum has been ranging between this $715 and this $4,867.81. And this is using the Coinbase chart. So for a few years, price has just been within this one bar here. So now that projected target is 9,020. I mean, you can say 10,000. I can also slap in something in here in the center, just kind of give it a midpoint in here, in which I think that price can come back to. But for now, based on the range, you would expect a 1-to-1. So that's all that is there. But big up on anyone who also holds Ethereum long term. This is a nice look. This is a nice look. So nice clean breakout. 4707. It's the next level of potential resistance. So if you do something, let's see, because we probably could take that out first, right? Could do something like that. Could do something like that, and then continue onwards and upwards. So actually, let me give this, because you know how it is when they come for that liquidity. Hold on, I did have a level marked out. That's way too high. It's a monthly time frame though. Hold on. So that's way too high. But anyway, you get the concept. You break the level here. Of course, you're going to be looking for this liquidity to get taken over here from this pivot here, which the liquidity will be sitting a little bit higher up above there. Choo. Let's see. What was I looking at? Yeah. I mean, you really don't have much. You really don't have much, but you'd be looking for something like that. And then, of course, on the rejection, then you want to come back and you want to hold these highs in here. And so that's where you start back looking at this 4,008 to 3758.90. Let's just say for some reason this weekend she gets her done. Let's just say for some reason this weekend this happens. It would be complete garbage, in my opinion, if it happens this weekend. But nonetheless, the markets are here to surprise us, right? Sorry, drinking some hot coffee kind of burned my throat a little bit. I was a little bit too fast with that sip. So that's what we got going on over here on Ethereum. Just wanted to make sure I zoomed out with you, took a look at the bigger picture, breaking outside of the symmetrical triangle, or has broken outside of the symmetrical triangle, has taken out one of the last levels in here before we go into price discovery. Once we get beyond this point here and this pivot. All right. So I'm out here on the daily. Let's see what we got happening over here on the daily. Let me do this like so, like this. Okay, you see we got this little charge coming in here on the daily. Let's see, let's add some monthly levels in here. I was only looking at weekly. Let's put some monthly candles in here, candle closures in here. Let's see what we got. I want to make sure it's not blue though. Don't want it to be blue. Just want to see if anything comes up above head. Well, that was a monthly level there as well. Just wanted to see if there was anything else. Nope, I'm not going to get anything else. I really don't need to look at that then. So I'm going to take that back off. And we're good to go. See our 4 hour. So we have our one trend line already. Just trying to see what else we could potentially be looking at in here. All right, so that's already done there. That is already done. Switch this up a little bit, just a little bit. Let's see. Let's do her like this. And this could be relatively close to what we're already looking at. Let me make sure I put this on the right one. Come on. I mean, this looks a lot like what we're already looking at on the lower time frame. So yeah, that looks a lot like that. So let me drop down here to a 1, 15. Yeah, so I probably wouldn't do this one right here. I just stick to the one that I did highlight over here before, which is this one. So this is the one that price is respecting at the moment. For Ethereum. You know, we've had quite a bit of bear dips coming up, but in this environment, that's really not going to matter too much at the moment. Just indecision, and that's how I would look at it from now on. It does matter when you come into confluence with some resistance levels. That resistance right now, see, it's starting to chisel in here. Let's go ahead and slap a marker on here. We're starting to chisel at. Maybe this is something that can be revisited later. At some point, just from the lower time frame perspective. Let me lock this in so none of this is showing up on any other time frame here. But with this chisel in here, you'd be looking for a break above here, or a closure, really a closure, because you're not closing above here. So I like to do that. I start to see as chisel, I'll drop to a line perspective and look for a closure above that line. I mean, you can start to get risk on if it comes back down here and retaps into this trend line here. If you want to be an aggressive long here at the highs, if you want to be an aggressive long at the highs, that's how I would do that. Let's see, we can do a little something. Let me just turn that back off for a moment. See what I got going on down here. This is just going to be something a little bit here on the inside here. Flash that out. Let me just check myself before. I'm not gonna wreck myself because I'm not trading. I'm not trading Ethereum right now anyway. So you'll have this here on the inside as well, okay? So this is what you can look forward to. If we do start to lose respect for this trend line here, we do start to lose respect for it, and we're starting to have a banger of a time trying to get above here to get to this next pocket of liquidity up here, and that's 40. Let me find a better way of doing that with you. 42.61, 42.73 again. We do have a banger of a time trying to get up there. Then we lose the respect for this trend line here. I mean, you can say that there's the potential to come in here, right? You can say that. You can say that. But there are some orders. There are some orders in place here as well. All right, let's move on. And I'll tell you what I did do this morning. I said I'm not trading too much. I did open up an additional long position on Bitcoin because it was struggling. And we had some things that we were looking at here yesterday. Like I said, it was struggling a little bit more. Ethereum obviously wasn't struggling, but Bitcoin was struggling a bit more. So we were looking at the idea of this liquidity here being taken, and the potential for a complex head and shoulder in here. So it did struggle quite a bit. It never reached a full target down here for this liquidity in here. I did take one long position off of this move here. Also, yesterday I took one little long position off of this when I could see that it was going to get a little bit of a bounce, just based on some indicators and things like that. When I could see that, I just went ahead and took a little bit of a scalp long position here, closed that one out. I do still have two additional positions open. My short position from up here around 40, around 120. I do still have that position open there for my short, and then I also have a long position open from a bit lower down in here. I think it was. I can't remember. But I know I didn't take it from the point that I from the setup I gave. I know I didn't take it from there because I really wasn't sure if I wanted to trade it or not. But I did just enter a long position on Bitcoin when I before I started the stream, exactly before I started the stream, because I could see that we were hitting some resistance in here. So if I turn this off to my line perspective, I could see that we were hammering at this level here, that 116,973. I can see we were hammering at it, and anytime you continue to hammer at something and you're putting in these highs down here, a little bit of a, I don't know, ascending triangle, not the cutest one for me, but definitely we kept hammering here. So I was like, okay, when we can actually break it, I'm gonna enter into a long. And so that happened right before the stream started. So I wish I had been over here to be like, hey, you can do that. I mean, it's not as strong as Ethereum, but it was something that could be done, right? So the same thing I'm telling you right now on Bitcoin here, which is not, as high up at the moment as Ethereum is. This is what I'm saying with Ethereum also. There, it's chiseling there at those highs. And if it continues to do that, then you can look to get long on that. Okay. So just open up another little position here. I'm not going to hang around here too much with these new positions or any new positions, simply because it is the weekend. It is the weekend, and weekends are made for trapping longs and shorts. So just know that you can be a trap trader here over the weekend, because we're most certainly going to leave a gap behind on Ethereum. I'm not Ethereum, but Bitcoin, if we keep trying to push. And then we see ourselves coming back to revisit that. Okay. So that's that. That is that. That was that for Ethereum. Let's take a look at what some of the altcoins are doing. This isn't going to be a 5-hour stream. It's Saturday. I do work on weekends. I can give y'all all the time during the weekdays, but I work on the weekends. So I wanted to make sure I had my levels on over here. And let's start to zoom out a little bit. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame so I can see everything I have going on here. All right, XRPZ. Looking good, looking good. Getting above that weekly high. And just stretch this out a little bit here. Pull it to Sunday. Just adjust my stuff in here just a little bit. I like for everything to be evened out like that. Okay, so we did mark out a couple of things for, I think this was supposed to be a rejection point, and this has already happened. So yeah, this has already happened. So nothing there anymore, because that was this rejection here. I remember that. We talked about it coming up, rejecting. And then of course we got our move down here to the weekly low. So I'm gonna move this here, because this is what we want to see respected. Actually, right here on this here. Don't want to see price coming back down below that. And it looks like whatever, I think this might have been for the breakdown. Let me turn one of my indicators on, because it helps me to see some things a little bit better. So I can see what I was looking at. I'm gonna drop this here, because I think that was all about price action breaking down from the ascending and broadening formation that we had over here for XRP. I'll put that there. Let me stretch this one out here. So I like this. I like this this down slope here, starting to flatten out a bit in here. So I do like this. And yeah, I'm gonna allow this a little bit more time. So this will be out throughout the day, and then I'll come back in, and then I'll update on this. Ethereum continuing to struggling a little bit there. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to eat my breakfast at the same time. As I run through these charts real quick. So this is a good place here for Ethereum. And while I'm thinking about this, I mean for XRP, as I'm looking at this, let me just go back on one other thing too that we did yesterday. That had to do with my Bitcoin long position that I took yesterday. I closed out before I went to sleep. Not really in the mood to be hanging on to things. This was around the time where we had this guy come in on the show who was being a little bit rude, but he has his own channel and he actually does have a good bit of followers. So big ups to him. But this is around the time when I was trying to discuss this with you guys, and I was saying like this is Bitcoin's return point. And I'm like, it's not. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee, but most of the time it happens. So we had this on the chart in the video yesterday where I said that this is where it would return to. You know, I know we're looking for this, but I'm like, this is where it will start to expand. So if we get down here and we manage to get into this liquidity right here, we want to see it bounce away from here. Otherwise, you would start to expand, but that this was the return point right here. And as you can see, this is what we did. You know, we wicked over it, but no closures below. No closures below the return point there. So that's it with that. I just wanted to come back over and share that. All right, so back over here to XRPZ here. So yeah, I would probably look here for some sort of a resistance in here if XRP can get up here. Right now, just hanging around here at this previous week high here. I don't really see anything in here aside from these lows in here that could be acting as a little bit of resistance in here. But then I would be looking here to see if we get any further resistance if we do push up. So that's 34,504 here for XRP. It doesn't look like XRP is going to come back down to, let's just say this low down here. That doesn't look like that's going to be a thing for. I know that we did look at the trend line break over here for XRP at one point, but that has already happened. Just trying to make sure I didn't have it set to where it didn't show up visibly on any other chart. And the rest of XRP is in price discovery. I didn't actually see anything in terms of weekly levels for XRP. I didn't really see anything, but we know that we're here. You know that you're here within these lows and possible resistance. So again, I would look at this 34,504 because you had quite a bit of shorts to step into the market at this point here. So quite a bit of shorts to step into the market at this point here. Now you did have a little bit of a inside or did have a little bit of a range here right before the breakdown. So this candle right here could modify it and just do it based on this candle in here. Potentially this one in here. So just look at that, and you want to hold that $3.22. You want to hold that $3.22. But in the event that something more, let's just say some crap happens here over the weekend, which I don't think it will happen. You see where this $3.12 is. You definitely don't want to lose that. So 312 is a spot that you definitely do not want to see yourself losing here on XRP. That pushes you back inside of the cloud, and most of the time the cloud will act as support or resistance when you're coming back to engage with it. So $3.12. You don't want to see yourself lose that. But since this is a fresh momentum, you want to ensure that you stay above this 322. For now, I'm just telling you what your max, what you don't want to do more than is going to be that $3.12. I mean, if you break in between into this 322, it's not the max pain for you. I'm going to tell you right now, your max pain is going to be that 312. This right here is just, saying maybe the bulls are not as strong as the bulls look in here. If you come back down this 322. All right, so that's XRPZ. Take a look at SOL. Okay, something weird is going on in here. I think I came in and modified some things over here, and that's what's happening. So let me see. I got two different weekly average ranges going on in here. Oh my gosh. That's weird. That's really weird. I'm gonna leave it like so. I'll leave it with this one. I may have just changed the way I had it mapped out. So I'm gonna run with this one here. All right, you are starting to get a little drop here in the dynamic cloud here for Solana. Which can be extremely bullish at this point. Right now, you want to make sure price is holding above that 179.49, because if not, then that'd be pushing you back down here inside of the cloud. But this is bullish, and we also looked at on Solana. I'm actually not going to have it on this chart here, simply because I did it from a different chart. I did it from a different chart. So allow me to take a look at the real Solana chart, which is here. All right, so finally got that breakup out of the flag here, and this was just confirming. Just wanted to make sure we got above any sort of resistance in here with that breakup, just simply because I knew that once the breakup started to take place, that you'd immediately run into this resistance here. So yep, clearing that resistance. Look like we're bouncing on it, off of it, on it. Let's take a look at it here. I don't see a reason that you should come back in and lose this. Let's just zoom back out on it here. And so coming up, you can see where your next area of resistance would be. You have the 188.83. You want to see Solana be able to break through this point of resistance in here. I don't think it's had too many struggles with it. Not too many. Yeah, it hasn't had too many struggles with it. So you either be looking at this 188.83 or you'll be looking at this 207.46 here for SOL as you're getting this push up here. And let's just say for some reason it does reject and it needs to see a pullback. I mean, you can keep this level in mind. I really don't see any reason why it would need to do that, but you can keep this level in mind, that 176.12, but 188.83 up to about 207. You face a little bit of resistance, and then of course, continue to look a little bit higher here on Solana if we're going to continue moving upwards. That is, but nonetheless, nice bounce off the golden pocket there for Solana. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, this was the XRP chart right here actually. So we did get the breakup, back test in the VWAP, and now we're hitting. Okay, and we actually slapped the top of that. So I did go in here and add that 4-hour level in here for XRP. So that is exactly what we're hitting. You can still go with what I said earlier, which was this bar here. If it gets through this resistance here, which is simply just the 4 hour resistance zone. It's not like it's one of these larger ones where it's the weekly level of resistance. But if it gets through this 4 hour resistance zone here, then um, like I stated earlier, from that other chart, you could look at that. Actually, I'm gonna have to come back over here. I'm gonna have to come back. I'm gonna do it when I don't want to do my I don't want to highlight my zones while I'm on stream. I want to highlight how I actually get them and save that lesson for another time. Uh, if I move something, then I will add it later. I'm just gonna put this in here for now. Actually, let me see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're gonna start to have a little bit of a challenge around this current level. Let me just go ahead and map out that additional level for you, and then I'll sync it into the chart here for you. So I'm gonna take this away here and give you your other 4 hour level. And I'm gonna break it into 2 parts instead of making it one. No, actually I probably could just make it one part. It would be a rather larger zone. Daily. Just bear with me here. And thank you for your patience. There's a $10 move there. All right, so this is just right, this is way too small for me. So I'm just gonna stretch it all the way up to the actual highest point I can see it here. Yeah. So this is your next level here. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so this is your next level here for XRP on a 4 hour. That's going to be $3.49 up to $3.57. And then, of course, you can see where your actual peaks are here. This is your next 4 hour level of potential resistance in here for XRP. Dun, dun, dun. All right, and let me kick back here. This is just what Ethereum is looking like right now. All right. BNB. BNB. All right. So this wasn't even, this was what I did on a whim. Nothing that was actually a level for BNB. So with that said, I'm going to delete these so I can make sure I give you the proper level in case some garbage pops off here. I'm going to delete this one too because there's really nothing there. All right, so on a 4-hour structure, you'd be looking at this point here, which is relatively close to where you have that weekly high at. It would be there. So it would be that 858, and it's just a single line there. Just a single line there on any sort of I'm probably going to change this again because I haven't looked at the daily. This is just the 4-hour. Here, let's just say price comes back for some reason, then I would be looking for this right here to hold that support. Since price actually had zero respect for it coming up, I'd be looking for it to hold as some sort of a support. And since I have the dynamic cloud here, unless it moves, I'm going to stretch it and just do it like this. I don't typically do that, but I'm just going to do it for the sake of today. And then, let's see. Let me delete that one. There's another one-liner in here. Probably need to put these out in purple. Let me set this up. And I'm going to just keep these relatively close to where price action is at the moment. And then last but not least, I'm just going to do this here. Yeah, I'm going to do that one there. And then let me push my way out to a daily and see if there was anything I needed to modify. Nope, not really. There is one other thing in here. Let me just be a little anal. And make all things even. All right. So for BNB, this is what we're looking at. So didn't actually show any respect to this one here. So you could break it, come back down, back test it, and then push away from it. You can do that. If you don't respect it coming up, then that's more than likely what it turns into is a support level instead of resistance. That next level I'll be looking at here as price does continue to push up is going to be 827.96. And after that, somewhere here around this previous week high, somewhere between this 858 and then of course where your high is altogether. But I would be looking for some sort of a reaction once you come into here for BNB. Those would be your levels to watch for on BNB moving up. And let me just change these to purple so I'll know that is what I'm looking at. And these are all based on 4-hour. So let me just take that a step further. And let me just Make sure I'm highlighting that this is all it is. It's just 4-hour stuff. And I know from my purple boxes that it's 4-hour. So with that, let me take this away. I don't really need to have this on the chart at the moment. Just needed it for that 1 sec. So I know BNB had moved into price discovery, and this was the last weekly level for it here. So now we move on to 4-hour and potential dailies. Hold on, I made a mistake. This is a daily. That's a daily. I usually do those in that color. All right, so BNB, this is what you're looking for on BNB. I don't see any patterns or anything in here that I need to take up any concern with. And with anything, you always want to look for your possible scenario that's going to be something like that. You come up, maybe you come back in here. You know, you never know. Maybe you come back in here, or maybe you do something like that. So you always want to be looking for that along the way for your opportunity to get long if you're looking to get long. Let's see what Ethereum is doing real quick. All right, so it did get that break. I was looking at it from a 15-minute time frame, so you could be a little bit early on it. I saw those altcoins moving, so I was like, let's see real quick. This is the champ right here, right now. I can see the shorts trying to come in here. Just looking at coin glass, you can see this big, it just had like a big limit order here set to short it. Yep. I mean, that's just going to be a common thing people like myself and others who like, I'm not doing anything today. Absolutely not with Ethereum, period. But people will be looking to short it continuously because it's sitting around its highs, all-time highs. And people want to hedge too, so that just is what it is. All right. All right, so that was BNB. Let's take a look at ADA here. ADA is coming into a little bit of a range here at 82.43. We covered this already where we talked about the inefficiency, and ADA would have to come back here and hold this inefficiency, or it would just completely slip through, and then we'd be looking down here at next targets. But nonetheless, it held, it came back up, started whipping VWAP and pushing back into the range and coming up into the next one here at 82.43 in terms of the weekly level here, and that's just a one-liner there. And then once ADA can get past this, then I will be looking up here again at 92.80. I've covered these quite a bit here. I'm just gonna go ahead and look at yeah, and that's the long setup I'll never see, so I can take that away. At this point, I don't want it anymore. Just trying to get above this trend line here for Cardano. Get above here from your weekly time frame here. Then you'll be looking like Ethereum. Okay, breaking onwards and upwards. While this is not a symmetrical triangle the way Ethereum had one, nonetheless, you had your W formation. You had your closure above this level here, or above this peak here. Did you? You did not. So that was a big thing. You did not. I didn't pay attention to that. That ADA did not get that close above that pivot. I mean, price traded above it, but it didn't close above it. So you do want to see that. You want to see a closure on your weekly above 86.43. That needs to happen for ADA. It needs to happen. Let's try to see if there's anything else I needed to see here. There isn't. Yeah, you definitely need that closure above this level here. Quite important. Before we can start to get too bullish on ADA, that needs to take place. So we'll look for that to happen this weekend. Here's 643. All right, let me just drop down and look at some other things here. Take a look at near. All right. I should have added a little bit more on my near to my near bag. I did pick some up when we first got the rejection, but I should have picked up a little bit more when we came down here to test VWAP, and I did not. But nonetheless, you can see the trend line here. For near, we do want to get a break above that, and we also want to see a closure above here. So we need to be coming back into our weekly level here, which is 347 up to 378. So if we can get a closure at least around here, but we do want to see a closure above here, just for some some change in this downtrend, because we don't have a change of market structure here from this downtrend here, and do want to see that happen. But nonetheless, I believe in near. I think near is going to be a great performer, which is why I picked some up down here at these, down here within this zone here. But I should have added to that position, and I didn't do that off of that VWAP. But you can watch that trend line. You can go over on your weekly time frame and just plot this trend line out right here. You can even move it to just look at this point to this point, but I like this chart. Oh yeah, I changed it. So I changed the criteria from this one to looking at this one here, but let me take this away. But let's stick with this. Let's stick with making sure we get a closure above 338. We do want to do that. So next level of interest, 347 to 378 for near. And I mean, of course, at the end of the day, we'll be targeting these highs here. There might be something in here to look out for, just looking at it. I have to go back and see what that is, but for now I know that I am targeting, looking for during this altcoin. I don't know what you want to call it. Some people don't want to call it the altcoin season or whatever. I mean, until dominance does this, that, and the third or whatever, just look at the coin you're trading or investing in. And it can be as simple as that. Let me push out here on a daily time frame. And I like it too because it hasn't done as much as some of the other charts have done. And so that's another thing that has me interested in it. You have a lot of them that have already, pumped really good. And here that, it just hasn't done it just yet. You can see a lower time frame as well here. And the way that we saw Ethereum get that break out of its symmetrical triangle, that could be leading into saying, hey, you got some other altcoins in here that are stuck within a pattern. Those can also be getting ready to break out as well. So we'll see how near perform. Once it comes back up here to this trend line, just go out. You can go on your daily. You can go on your weekly. If you're in near, do plot this trend line here. Do plot it. So you can look for that break above here. If it's somebody who's a lot more conservative, I mean, you would want to have gotten in somewhere down here within these lows of accumulation, but you know, watch this on near. All right. Let me look at one other thing. Sorry. Just thinking. Okay, so that just brought me back to why we did see that additional rejection here, and that was because of the 200 EMA. And you can see how it's riding that trend line that we need to get that break above already. And then you can see how it also is in line with the 400 is in line with the next key level here around that 347. So bear that in mind too as near comes up, that it could potentially see another rejection here, and that's going to come from the 200 EMA along with the downsloping trend line that's here on price action. And then VWAP just so happened to line up really good with where price action did get a momentum bar here and then got to break back up above it immediately. So this was a bearish momentum bar here where they tried to push prices down a little bit further. They didn't manage, the bears didn't manage to do it, and the bulls took control and pushed price back up this up VWAP and this momentum line in here. So this will disappear after 20 bars in. I'll be looking back at it daily. But that is your resistance, the trend line here. And when we get a full break out of here, then we can start to look at, you know, our next level, next key levels in here. All right, and that is just based on the EMA here. I covered this as well. So I mentioned that here with this indicator here, you can see how long price action actually rolled below the cloud, and then it started to get its first little interaction with it there, and the cloud has since dropped and flattened out completely. So near is in a good place for me to want to buy it, which is why I'm also buying it. It's a long time coming for this to take place. Take a look at Undo here. This was old. All right, so Undo's pushing back above the larger VWAP here. It didn't actually come down here and tap that golden pocket, so I'm gonna drop that. It didn't even come back into the weekly level this go round. It's too far. This is a daily in purple here. I need to change the color since I'm now coding it. All right, Ethereum trying again. Let's see the long orders just step in on it. It's daily. So you can see where your resistance has been coming from. It has been coming from within this daily zone in here. So we're still trying to make our way up here to this golden pocket. That just hasn't happened yet. You also have your bandwidth one here at the top side here where we have the golden pocket. We also have the weekly level in here. So just still trying to work things out over here on Ondo to get to that point. Let's take a look at okay, I did put notes in here on it at the time. And then I was looking at some things in here, but that was old. That was really old. That's from the 16th of July. So I haven't made any notes in here since then. And VWAP is still basically in the same place. Same place. We had the rising wedge. Yeah, so all of that's already transpired. Let's see. That's the smaller one. This is the larger one. Turn that off for a second. Let's take a look at the EMAs over here and see if there's anything in confluence here with the EMAs. At least the 200 is what I'm looking at. So price is above the 200 here on the daily time frame. Once again, here on the daily, let's take a look at the weekly and make sure that we're still in good standing on the weekly, and we are. So no closures back below it, just a few wicks down below it. So Undo's looking pretty good. Undo is looking pretty good, with the exception of coming back into this level here and potentially looking for some more resistance to take place in here. So this is the trouble zone here, our Achilles heel with Undo. I do own Undo, spot back of Undo, and let's see if we can eventually get up here into this golden pocket here. Golden pocket 786 coming in at 126 to 143 for Undo. Let me just zoom out a little bit more here. Yeah, this looks really nice. I love when I see bird feathers. I love when I see bird feathers. And that's a beautiful bird feather. Let me see on one real quick here. That looks really good. Beautiful. Oof, that is beautiful. Undo had the little inverse head and shoulder. I bought when Undo first kicked into the market, it was down here. Yeah, so I didn't buy enough to tell you the truth, but I bought early on Undo. When it hit Coinbase anyway. Not like some people who probably got it sooner. I want to see the measured move on this. I figured that was going to happen. Or what should be the measured move. So it's right on time. I'm coming up here. Previous week high, daily level of resistance in here. That looks good. That looks really good. That looks real good. Sorry, that looks real good. See what we got going on over here. So 1 hour, a little bit extended. 4 hour, a little bit extended. I mean, that's nice. Daily actually started to flip green in here. Surprised I don't see the bullish divergence in here, but it actually started to flip green down here off of this rejection, but it ended up slipping at 200 EMA, which no, that's so 1,000. 400. Started slipping at 400. Huh. And then we didn't quite make it back down here. This was pretty nice over here. This could be a just getting started point here for Undo. I don't really like how. Anyway, let me leave that alone. Let me get out of that. And like I said, a lot of charts have been doing this fast signal. I don't know why. Well, I guess because altcoins are just that bullish that they're just doing this fast signal. And then they're going on about their day. I'll be looking for another fast one when it comes back up here into this zone here. But aside from that, this looks really nice. I do want to start to see got one more in here that needs to flip up above this 200 as well, and I can see it starting to flatten out a little bit. So do want to see that one also rise above the 200, and I think that this is the last one that would need to do it here. So this must be the 60. Let me just double check on that, because I think that that's probably like the 60. Yeah, that's the 60 EMA. See how it's lagging below the 200? You want to see a full flip to confirm, the strongest momentum. You want them to be in numerical order, and right now that 60 is lagging behind and it's starting to flatten out a bit here. Or it is still a little bit, lackluster. I want to see that come up and flip above this 200 to be in that numerical order. And see this continue up. Same thing with VWAP. VWAP is a little flat in here as well. Yeah, VWAP's a little flat too. So I would just watch that. Yeah, Ethereum's not managing to get above that point right now. Even though I can see the bull stepping in on Ethereum at this moment. But yeah, you don't want this to be so flat. Could also see some bearish divergence in here. Just coming back up here. If it comes in here, it just depends on how fast the change happens, but could potentially end up getting some bear dips here on the daily. So if you start to see a bear div on your daily time frame, and let's just say your 200 and your 60 are still like this, You could see a retracement. VWAP still flat. Yeah, you could see a rejection and retracement. So just watch that. But on the lower time frames, I mean, this absolutely looks beautiful. It looks beautiful from here. That looks nice. Just a little overextended, but otherwise it looks nice. So I expect a rejection right about in here. And then on your rejection, you can look for it to come back and hold here at 99. Look for that. It's not too far away from it. Front window. I have Aptos. I do have it on Coinbase. See, I didn't pick up anymore after we got this breakdown over here. I may have drawn this off of a different chart. Let's see. I'm not sure where I drew it from and why I didn't take it up like that. I'm not sure, but I just didn't. So that's done. So Aptos is getting a nice little move, but I'll be honest with you, and I bought some of this, not too long ago with my spot bag. It's lacking something. It just is. It seems to be. Let me take that away. It doesn't look as strong as the price action. Let me just put it like that. It doesn't look as strong as the price action. Even these nice moves over here, they look like they were really, really strong. And then you see weakness in momentum. Just depends on how you like use moving averages, if you even use them. But it can come back. I don't care how much it pushes up, it can come back. Let me just put it like that. All right, so you see this over here. I mean, you can see it from those EMAs as well, but you see this over here. So at the point where, you're slower or faster, your faster moving averages got their cross up or whatever, however you like to do it. I stopped really depending on the cross. The cross just shows me like a momentum shift. But you can see how even over here, how the 50 was a little bit lagging behind a lot. Over here, you tend to come back to it when it's like that. So this is still really flat. It's really flat. So that tells me that price is going to come back down here. It's going to end up coming back to it. That's just what happens. Because right now it's just a fast move. And that's the only thing that's actually working right now is the fast move. But then it lacks, it's lacking momentum to actual, or lacking actual strength. So it looks strong in price action, but it's actually not. That's the only thing for me. And see, I bought it simply because it did get back above this 50 on the weekly time frame. So I bought it for this reason here. And I wanted to be rather early on it just in case it failed or something like that. But this is my reason for buying it, just because it got back above this 50 here. And then you can see any other time that it got above the 50 that you did get a nice little run on it. If I could extend this back, you would see that this had just came above the 50 here. And so that is the reason why I picked it up. I'm going to take this VWAP away. So it could continue to range around here a little bit before you actually get a real breakout. You do have the pattern formation here as well. Just like what we're looking on near. And then of course your W formation range here, which is starting to not look so much like a W anymore. So I don't know if I still want to call it a W formation. But even if I take the W out of the equation, you know, you do still have the measured move for this little triangular structure here is not symmetrical, so I don't really know what to call it, but you know, you have some resistance across this top here. So I mean, this could go on. I'm just gonna say that this could go on because it could go on. It is a little bit lackluster over there on the daily time frame. So this could go on. I remember when ICP was doing this same thing, and then ICP just started to continue to slip. Because I bought ICP based on a similar narrative, and ICP just continued to slip. So be aware of that with Aptos. It looks nice here, but it could be some sort of a continuation also, at least until we see the breakout in here, because there is some weakness shown in the chart. In fact, let's come over here to ICP and just take a look at ICP. Let's see if we still have any of that in here. I may not have it on this chart, and it appears I don't, but I have it somewhere. I have it somewhere. Because ICP had a similar thing going on, and then it just continued to be a little bit crappy. And right now you can see here for ICP that this is all we've been doing at this point. Within this range here, this high and this low here. This entire thing could be accumulation, and then we see a breakup and out. Trying to see why I did that like that. Maybe I drew it from a different. No, it wasn't from that. Could it have been from this time frame? I don't know why it looks like this, but let me adjust this for a line perspective. Thank you. I mean, you really got nothing over here on ICP, and I'm in the hole on that position that I took on ICP a while back, just thinking that it was going to get that break, and it just continued to do this garbage, right? What it's doing right now. But you can see if it manages to get up here, you might be looking at another rejection here. Please don't short it. Please don't. Help a girl out. All I want to do is be out of it, but yeah. You hear you're long, you hear it looks like they're shorting, but like I said, this entire zone in here, it could be accumulation. Then we'd be looking for the breakout, and then we'd be looking to come up here, and then of course you have your a weekly zone in here, so it'd be 952, and then 1147 here for ICP. But you got to get above this first. Have to get above here first. You're not getting above here. You're not flipping this, then the cycle continues until it breaks. Either breaks up or it breaks down, and it can break down. You know, we've seen ICP suffer quite a bit. It can break down. And no need to put any sort of diagonals on this. You know, it's rangy. Got your 200 EMA here as well. I mean, it could be a short. I mean, it could be a short until it breaks, but that's what it's been doing so far for ICP, and it sucks. All right. AVAX is basically looking the same. Take this away. I think this was a point we were looking for price to come back up or something, and this was around another rejection zone in here. I'm gonna do it like I got ICP because it really make sure this was the highest candle close right there. Okay. But I do think AVAX is going to do good. Let me just see if I can figure out where that is coming from. It has to be from one of these higher time frames. 3 week. Monthly. I'm not seeing it. 3 month. I mean, that could be it. I already have levels for it. Not really. So this looks like it might be it here on the weekly time frame. Anyway, yeah, I mean, AVAX looks a lot better in my opinion than ICP does, but it is still within a range and it's not breaking up of it. So need to see that range get broken. It has quite the resistance through here. Yep, need to lose this range here. Break out of this range here, and then you do have a lot of space, air in here to be able to move freely until you come up here into this next zone here around 35. But yeah, if it gets through here, because this is where you have a lot of activity taking place, but you have a solid fair value gap in here. So that should make it easier for price action to move once it gets through there. Then you come back in here around this 35 and have a little bit of a problem. You're going nowhere until you can get past this. Nowhere. It's absolutely far from, yeah, it's not going anywhere yet. It's not even doing any, it had that one time in here where, you got a bearish momentum line in here that pushed price back into this point here. You had it over here too, but you're not getting any bullish momentum. It's nowhere near getting any bullish momentum where it starts to put in these orange. It's nowhere near getting anything like that at the moment. So just still very rangy. RSI looks like it's around a 50. And as long as these two are spread out, you don't really have the muscle to have any sort of sustained moves. This is a big spread. And every time it hits this yellow, it just gives you a big candle, because this is the first thing it's going to hit. So every move up, if this flips back, RSI flips back down, I mean, you already be losing the 50. That's one thing. And then you be hitting this accelerated signal line here, and that's just going to chop price. So you just get some nice size bars. When it dropped down here, you got this nice size, this big bar here. Push up, and you're starting to get this nice bar. But as long as it's doing that, you just get some nice, some big candle bars, either to the upside or to the downside. But yeah, this needs to change. What your MACD look like? MACD still well below the zero line. I mean, it's worth the investment though. It is worth the investment, because once it does manage to get above here, see, it's been down below here. First of all, this is bearish. That's one thing. When the delta crosses below the MACD, then that's the direction change, or indicating the direction change. This one is bullish because it crossed up the MACD here. So it's indicating that some underlying strength is attempting to come in. And then, of course, so a lot of ways to read this. This is the point where the delta actually crosses above the zero line, which just simply means that the MACD has now crossed its signal line to the upside. So it's got a bullish MACD signal line cross. And the next thing is going to be for the MACD itself to cross above that zero line. So when it broke down in here, be waiting for this to cross the zero line. By the time this crosses the zero line, then that's probably going to be the point where this is breaking out of here. Yeah, that'll be the point where this is breaking out of here, because this is based on the rejection here, where it crossed down the zero line. That's based on that rejection here. But then the delta crosses over, giving you a bullish signal. When it crosses above the MACD, that's a bullish indication there. Start accumulating. That's how you want to accumulate. Not financial advice. This is just some stuff that I've learned using it. That's where you want to start accumulating, when your delta crosses above the MACD. You can start accumulating for the some sort of a rally to come in. And as long as it stays like that, that's okay. And like I said, when it crosses down, like the delta crosses down the MACD, that's bearish. That's showing you that the market is looking to reverse, and you can see how that worked out. So just a little sauce on how this actually works. Cross up, start accumulating. Let me extend. Crosses up, you can look to start accumulating. I wouldn't accumulate before then, but it crosses up, you start accumulating because it's indicating a nice reversal is coming in, and then you can see what ends up happening. So you're not buying into a falling market continually. Like every time it drops, you're looking to buy. You don't have to do that. You can just wait for something like that to happen, to start accumulating, unless you're using another indicator and it gives you something different. And then you can see the fall. And then your zero. And then your accumulation again. So right now, yeah, it would be, like I said, I think it's going to perform very well. You do just have the resistance here, resistance across here, your support level down here needs to break above here for any meaningful moves to take place. But this so far looks pretty decent as long as it stays like this. But, price action will always move first. Just some things that you can take a look at. You got it again over here. So cross happens, is telling you some sell-off. Sorry about that. That is Restream acting crazy, because that is the one I use and I need to switch. Give it a minute. It hates me. It gets my money, but it hates me. So some sort of reversal is coming in here. You did get a bear div in here. So you just have to be aware that sometimes that will happen. It will, price action will do whatever price action does, but nonetheless, it indicated some sort of a reversal was coming in. You did get a nice retracement here. It's a 45% retracement. So that was still a nice retracement there. And then you're looking forward to break below the zero line or something like that. I'm sure you got a signal in here, some sort of a cross in here or something, but you had the bear div and that would have been the thing to go off of. But that's just a little something with using the I think I was doing some studying back here or something. I was. Let me put that yellow line back on. And that's a little something if you use MACD. There's a lot of ways of using it, and that's one of the things I like to look at. Good on lower time frames too. All right, let me move forward. I don't know if anybody's into Arrow. I like Arrow Drone. I took like a 75% loss on TIA. I was building this, garbage. I had a spot position on it, didn't have a stop in place for it, and I just let it ride below, just continue to fall. All right, so cost did get that break above this trend line over here. If you're a trend line trader, this was a failed bullish momentum line here. It's coming back up, but anyway, 10 cent here on cost, got the push back above here off of this daily level. Be looking for this 10 to, if not 10, then I'll be looking here. 11. Seems to actually like the daily levels a little bit better, which are, let me change it from purple to, what am I doing? To this color. So it seems to like the daily levels a little bit more. It's just chopping VWAP in here too, so I'm gonna take that away. So this isn't actually stopping price out too much, so I probably wouldn't look at this one per se, the 10, and I would be looking here. So it's either between here around 11 cent up here to this that daily there at 13 for cost. If it continues to push up here, that's what I would be looking for. I would just bypass that 10 cents altogether. It hasn't rejected too much from down here. And just look here. You do have the previous week high in here. So you will come into these lows here and then what took place in here. So you will have that. Let me just highlight that. Let me turn my magnet on. Let me change that ever so slightly. So yeah, you will have whatever was happening in here. What did that do over there? Nothing. Okay. You will have whatever's happening in here. Maybe you could look at that point 106 where that previous week high is located at, and then I would look at the point 11.6 here, and then of course what seems to be the Achilles heel at the moment, that point 13 in here. Let's see if there's any confluence in here anywhere. So there is a little bit of confluence here. You can break through this, at least maybe wick or something like that. Maybe leave a wick behind here around that 0.106 there. Hitting the 200 EMA at the moment. So just above that 200 EMA at the moment. I have to see how the rest of the weekend goes, but it looks like we will get some retracements on these on the weekend pumps. I mean, just looking at the overall formation here, whatever breaks happen, they'll happen, but could come back somewhere around the starting point of these breakouts here. So at least that's what the EMAs are showing here on the daily time frame. On the weekly time frame, you're not even getting any crosses on the weekly right now for costs. You're getting 0 crosses. You got, I think I have 2 off, yeah. So you do have a cross of the 5 and 10, but that's it so far here on the weekly time frame. Otherwise, they're just consolidating sideways. And that's just in terms of momentum, you know. That's interesting. For the longest time on the weekly time frame, you weren't getting any expansions here on the low. I remember this because I caught the top up here on costs, and I let everybody know that it had a rounding formation and it was going to break down, but you weren't getting any expansions down here to the lower side. You would just come into the lower cloud and bounce, and now you're not getting any expansions on the upper side. You did come into it one time here, so that was your return, but your expansion would have been all the way up here, and it didn't come back into that. So this is your return again for costs. And then this would be your expansion here for costs. Same thing like what we looked at on Bitcoin yesterday, just to take us back over here. The return was here, and then this was the expansion, and we just met the return instead and got a bounce away. Same thing here with costs. So at some point, you're going to be looking for an expansion on here. It just depends on how long price action stays in here, whether or not this changes. But you can most certainly look for price to get back to there, without a doubt. I know we're not supposed to say things like that. So that is above here. So I definitely be looking for price to get back into this return. And then that is probably why this is a struggle buster right here. I see that now. Let me lock that in. That's why it's rejecting somewhere around in here, because you're not able to get the expansion. But at some point you will, and then you'll look for these highs and costs to get taken as soon as you can get this expansion. But right now, you definitely, price is definitely going to come back in here. I mean, just a high probability. Forgive me, a high probability that price is going to come back in here, because I'm not supposed to say guarantee, but a high probability that price is going to get back in here. And then if you start to see, you start to see price pushing through here, then you know you're getting an expansion, a breakout. On costs. A lot of people are salty with DOT, so let's just take a look at it. me move this to here. All right, whatever I was looking at back here has already happened. Let's see. Let's see. There was a lot going on in here with dot a lot. So you have to pardon how these weekly ranges are labeled out, like they're stacked on top of each other because there's that much crap going on with Polkadot. I don't think this VWAP really makes a difference, but yeah, I don't really think that makes a difference. So I'm just gonna delete it. Every time you think you got a breakout on dot, it fails you. It fails. It's got another little line in here. So we just add another little trend line in here. Let's see. I'm gonna delete this one now. I mean, it failed that breakout. Actually, I'll just hide it. Might be a talking point at some point. Yeah, every time you think you got a breakout on dot, it just comes back for you. At least this one, this internal one, it worked. But yeah, so now you have this to get above here for Polkadot. And let me just do the same thing I just did on costs. Okay, so I did have another VWAP in here. Let me just switch this. This looks terrible. Actually, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Let me just be honest on that. Looks crappy. You can see the numbers right there. I'm gonna take this away, so let me just for my slow typing. So your return and your expansion, and both times it came here and rejected. This is around where VWAP is at. Take that into account. This is a nice squeeze. Let me just put it like that. That is a nice squeeze. I won't deny that that's a nice squeeze. And it comes as soon as you get the break out of this this little falling triangle here. As soon as you get the break out of this little falling triangle here, you would come into your return and your expansion. So it's a nice squeeze. Respected over here when it happened. But you do want to see the expansion. So you don't want to see like how it did over here. This would have been your expansion point over here. But you can see how it only left the wick off of that. And then it fell back in. But this is a nice squeeze for a breakup. And since it stopped out both times in here, this is what I would be looking for here in terms of a target where this VWAP is at. This falling VWAP here. So this is going to be the target. Somewhere in here. So it may not be too bad. It looks trashy though, but it may not be too bad. It may not be too bad. And you do actually at least get this right here out of dot. Let me see what the actual Bollinger looks like on it. Yeah, so. Nice little squeeze. Currently rejecting off standard deviation 1 here. Yeah. I'll get this breakout. You get this breakout here, and you got yourself a nice little move up, respecting standard deviation 1 to the downside. So you're basically ranging in between 1 right now before you get that breakout here on dot. Let's see. Yep. It's not too shabby. Some hopium. There's definitely hopium. So I look for a breakout on that. Look for a breakout and look to target where VWAP is here. Somewhere up here around this 10-11. Might actually buy some for the heck of it. Just give it a few weeks. Maybe another week. Maybe another week or two. See how it's doing. But it's coming back up this momentum line too. So I like that. I do like that because this was okay, so it originally was a bearish momentum. You got the break above and then you lost it real quickly. But yeah, get this breakout, expansion, return, and then expansion, and it's not shabby for dot. See some other stuff in here. I haven't looked at render in a long time. I need to spread these out, but I'll do that another time. So right now, yeah, just ranging in between these two, basically. What's this one? Unlocked. Let's see if there's anything special here. I do still have my render bag. I think the last time I sold, it may have been this one. No, that's May. It couldn't have been that. I can't remember. It may have, I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, let's see. Start out with the EMAs again. Just kind of see what we're doing here on the EMAs here. On the weekly, just flat, sideways, one cross, 5 and 10. Seems to be whipping each other in here. So yeah, still consolidating. That's all that indicates, is that price is still consolidating within here. Double bottom for now until it stops looking like a double bottom, but still has the formation of a double bottom in here. No confirmed neckline break. Look here. It has not really been getting past the 2 and 4. So the 200 and the 400 have been stopping price out, and that's going to be coming back here inside of this weekly level here around 448 to 506 for render. This daily, and this white one is simply a 1000. And it really doesn't tell me too much aside from how much we're actually, how bad it is in the moment. But yeah, you can see just not getting past the not getting past between the 4 and the 200 EMA. So you can put those on your chart for your daily time frame, or just go with this. You know, like I said, that 486 to 506 potential rejection zone again for render until it stops consolidating. Let me double check that daily again and see if there was any sort of a pattern in here. Not really. I mean, you could put something on these 2 points right here, but that would be a waste of time in my opinion. Just look at the horizontal on this one instead. Go with the basic Bollinger. No, not the basic one. This one first. So you're not coming back up here into it. That looks a little better in my opinion in terms of well, I'm gonna look at this on a monthly too. If you do get an expansion on this right here, I will make sure I'm not actually rejecting from here. Was this a, yeah. So you could immediately come into some resistance on an expansion. You could. But you do have a squeeze in here. And this, yeah, this drops to indicate. That's another thing about this too is this helps me identify what direction the market is potentially looking to go, because this is the part that has the drop and then it goes flat. So I look at both this and I look at the Bollinger, the standard Bollinger. But this will drop, indicating some sort of a direction, and this will rise, indicating some sort of a direction, right? So when this rises, I know I'm looking for price to come back into it and potentially drop. When this drops, I look for price to come back into it and potentially pump. So that's how I use this indicator right here. And then of course you see what the return and the expansion is. And like I said, you could run into some resistance immediately on that expansion, but nonetheless, it does have a nice little squeeze here. Yeah, there's no reason to not look back up here for render on a move up. Basically, can drop a trend line across these 2 points right here. Since each time it did get a little bit lower, you can drop a trend line here just to kind of project where that could come in at. But I'll probably be looking in here between 9 and 10, at least until we get some sort of a real market breakout. Between 9 and 10 here for render in terms of a projected target. That is what I would be going for here, between 9 and 10. Let me turn that one off and let's look at the custom Bollinger squeeze. So again, just like Polkadot, you are holding in between your standard deviation 1 and 2. So for the past several weeks, that is what you've done. You've held standard deviation 1 at the lows and standard deviation 1 at the highs, just waiting to get that breakout above standard deviation 1 to start pushing in here for the move out here on your weekly time frame. Let's see anywhere else you might have done that before. Not exactly the same in here, but it never did go back down here to standard deviation 2. It never did standard deviation 2 once that squeeze came into play. So I could say, I mean, at least you didn't come back down here too. Let's just put it like that. Once where the squeeze was at in here, you did hang around standard deviation 1, and then you got the breakout. So yeah, I'll be looking for a breakout here on render, just the same as with Polkadot. So these could be some good ones that actually haven't broken the neckline yet. These are the ones I've actually been looking at in terms of positioning myself. But I already have render, so I don't need to do anything for myself with this one. If you're in it, then that's pretty nice. For render, you did the same thing over here too. So if I look at, I can push this out like this. So over here, you can see where the squeeze was at. You tagged around standard deviation 1. So if you don't see price going back down to 2, that's a good thing. So tagging here around standard deviation 1, just hanging on to this around the squeeze, and then you get the breakout. So nice play for anybody else who's actually in render. This could be a nice little move. I like to not see this. Anyway, I'd rather see this pointed in. I'd rather see it pointed facing inwards like that. I'd rather see it facing inwards like this. I mean, it didn't do it over here either, but you know, I guess that's just a preference. So just keep holding that. Hold on, let me put this back on real quick. Previous weekly low. Let's just say that. I mean, I know the Bollinger is going to end up moving around a little bit at some point, but you can just bank off of the previous week low. You don't want to see price coming back. I'd rather see price not come back below the previous week low. I just put it like that. And let me see. A lot of these I just don't like with this indicator, particularly because they're underneath the cloud. Like price did push up and break in between here, but when you really want to see a really nice market move, I'd rather it do something like this, where you have this drop in and then price gets above this and then it runs. But I mean, it could still, like I said, this would be the target for me in here, at least until it stops putting in these lower highs. But this would be the target for me, expecting a lower high to come in here on render. And then, you know, can say it's something different when that changes, but for now, that will be the target. And that would be a nice little move, even up from where it is now. Let's just say from where it is now. I'm looking for the full target on this. I mean, that's 155%, 156. It's not bad. And I said I was going to look at this on the monthly. So let me just see. Yeah, I'll still stick with this. Let's still stick with that. Yeah, that's where all of your best price action is going to come in at, above here. So you want to see that for render for sure. Just getting back up above this weekly level here, out of this zone here. And that's render. All right, about 7:30 now. Let's see what else I should look at here. I stopped paying attention to my recent Bitcoin long position, and price is coming back down. Missed my chance to take my profit. That's okay. That's fine. It's the weekend, and it's the weekend. So let's see. Let's look at something like Floki. I don't usually look at meme coins too often. I don't know why I still have all this stuff over here on Floki. This was old. These were fair value gaps. And they did work a little bit. And this was old. Huh. All right, Floki. It's hard to believe Floki's been going this long. Jeez. See if we got a macro VWAP in here anywhere. I just like to take a look at that. Okay. This might continue to be something. It was just a fair value gap, but it might continue to be something. Since you do have VWAP in there. I've never put any weekly ranges on this thing over here other than just looking at the fair value gaps, because a lot of times with these, if you just go to your higher time frame and if you find where your gap is, more than likely price is going to come back into that. So that's why I had this left like that. And then these gaps, a lot of people will delete them once it's been met, but they can still act as resistance and support as an inverse fair value gap. Anyway, let's look at the EMA. That looks pretty good, at least for what it has. I mean, the other ones you can see when we put it on here, they were going sideways. This is rising, so this is pretty good. That's a 60 here. So price is above the 60. You want to see these last two right here cross up above it, which is actually the 10 and 26. Do want to see those cross up above with it. But this looks pretty good. Nice closure above this pivot here. Some regular altcoins didn't even do that. Some of the more utility altcoins didn't even do that. So that's good. That's one. That's two. Rejection off the bottom side of the cloud. Like I said, I'd rather see this drop and then price looking to cross back above it. But yeah. So there is some additional confluence in here of price rejecting potentially again once it comes back up into this zone. You just have to watch for that. If not, this looks like it would actually still work again in some capacity. So I'll be looking at that. And if you just need to map this out, just go on your weekly time frame. And it was this gap in here. And this gap in here. But I click on it for it's a lot of numbers to type in. So that would probably be easier if you're into Floki to do it like so. And then you can even see in here with Floki, just per se, right here. You see how that worked as an inverse fair value gap right here. So at some point, once Floki, like it didn't respect it coming back down because it happened so quickly, right? So at some point, you would be looking for this zone. I mean, you can go with regular price action as well without using the gap. But this pivot in here, you expect for this to hold that support at some point. There's a smaller one in here right now between here. But this is so, yeah. Let me see. I just want to look at it. It was too current. It was too current to really mean anything, to be honest. That one worked. As your support level. I don't see a gap in here for price to return to. I don't see one right now. I mean, like a place higher is what I'm trying to say. I don't see a place higher. Like I could say price is guaranteed to return to this gap. That's an untapped gap. Let me just put it like that. I don't see an untapped gap. So I would be looking for this. Potentially you get another rejection here. If you can break through here, then I would be looking here. I'd be looking back at this one. But I don't see an untapped gap that that I can say price is going to push this high and come back in and fill this gap. There's nothing like that. Let's see. We may have already had a squeeze and already done that. Yeah, it did. It had a return here, and you can see how when it initially got here, it did get a little bit of a small wick here, and then it had the expansion here. And so it looks like it's probably still in that phase of continuing up. That's what it looks like. It's probably still in the phase of continuing up. See how it did over here. It did much better. You didn't immediately get a rejection here. That's probably because you had this space up here to come back to. And right now you don't really have anything, but yeah, it's already done. It's already done the return and the expansion over here. So these are your two zones for sure. Hold on, let me see one other thing real quick. Any sort of a move down, you would be looking for this to continue to hold. And on your, yeah, so I mean, you're still in that squeeze. You're still in that squeeze. You did get an immediate discrepancy in here. This is the same thing that Chainlink did. You know, talked about this a few times with Chainlink, how when it got the move, actually, yeah, Chainlink and Total 2 both did the same thing. So it's very similar to Total 2 in regards of as soon as the expansion happened, you only put in this one green bar here. You did it over here too, and you ended up rejecting. So you put in this one green bar over here. You immediately got some sort of inconsistency from the push up out of the Bollinger, which printed this red candle instead of it being green. And then that's where you got this reversal at. So that's what you're doing over here at the moment. You know, you got this one green bar here, and then some sort of inconsistency between price action and the push out takes place, and then you see a rejection. You did it here too. So you got a nice push out over here, and then you got this red bar over here, and everything got a bear div in here. This was, you know, the Terra Luna phase in here, where everything got the bear div, and then the drop. No, this is 2024, so it's not Terra Luna. But you did get a discrepancy in here, so more than likely that's probably some sort of a bear div up here. Let me see if I can see it. Yeah, it was a bear div right here. Same thing here. He ended up getting let me see, exaggerated. It's very exaggerated though in there. Uh, Sorry. I don't know. It wants me to stop, I guess. So, uh, man, at least it's only a small little rejection. You're still holding the bullish control zone right here, standard deviation one. You're still trying to hold that. You're not coming back down into. I got to figure out why I have this down here. It's something that I added, and it creates these little. It's something that I got to fix on this. It's something. So on your basis here, I mean you're still above your 20 SMA. I mean I don't usually use a 20 SMA, which is why I have it turned off. I just look at the 1 and 2 is what I like to look at. We're either bullish or we're not. I don't wait for a cross of the 20 SMA. We're either bullish and we're trading in between standard deviation 1 and 2, or we're not. And I'm just looking for you to come back down here to standard deviation 1 and 2. And that's how I treat the Bollinger Band. You're either gonna be up here or you're gonna be down here. And there's no middle ground for me. I sounded very aggressive when I said that too, like, hey, there's no compromise. But yeah, you're still currently in this breakout of this squeeze unless something different happens. And then again, like I said, I'll be looking for price to come back and hold in here. And you can see that's also where you have your standard deviation one at here. Wouldn't be looking for 2 to come back in and be a factor. You barely hit this 2 anytime, but like this one moves, the other one doesn't. So this one does move. It wiggles. The other one gives you flat planes. This one wiggles. But yeah, be looking here. You know, got to get past this. Hopefully, it's not doing something like this. I really hope it's not doing something like this. Um, and that was just, as much of the correction that it was going to give over here. And then you get to push up and tier. I really start to watch it in here because it could be something like this, just on a smaller scale, where you just got this little push down and then you come up and then maybe you start to stall out in here. And then you have some sort of a bear dip or something, or you leave behind some powerful wick or something like that on Floki. Aside from that, yeah. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't want to be in it. I mean, I wouldn't want to open a new position on it. I wouldn't open anything new. Not on the week, not based on the weekly. Let me look at the monthly time frame. Yeah, see even here on the monthly, you know, just rose up above and riding up above the standard deviation one. So yeah, again, this looks like what I'll be looking at. The prices just come back into here, lower highs. So I'm not looking for a high. If price action gives you a higher position, then a higher price target, then great. If it doesn't, then you were prepared for a rejection. Let's just put it like that. It's a surprise if you get something extra. And again, like I said, we're either bullish and we're trading in here, or we're not, and I'm looking for it to come back down here into 1 and 2 at the lows. And then if we're bearish, and I'm looking for you to stay in here and just keep doing that. And this is the daily time frame. I can look at something different here on the daily. Mm-hmm. See what I have. This thing works really good with gaps or inefficiencies, whatever you like to call it. It works really good with them. Really, really good with them. I see it there. I see it here when it got this little bounce. It works really good with them. You got one in here. It looks like it hit that one perfectly. See that? But I still don't see anything extra over here. Just got this one in here that it can be coming into right now. Let's see this one right here. And just change the color on this one. I mean, it's almost there now. It was a nice bounce away from the 200 EMA down here. It's too late to even want to play with this one, but yeah, you could see it come back in here, maybe potentially reject here around the top side here first. I mean, on the bigger scale, you know what we're looking at, so you don't have to play around with the petty stuff, to be honest, but I'm just saying. So let's just say perhaps it does get some sort of a rejection in here and you're looking to get into this thing for a long. We can just be looking for a long. Just say it does reject there and it comes back in here. Then you can look to get long, potentially look to get long in here. And then you want to see price get up here. So if you're not already in Floki and you're interested in getting into something like this, I would only spot this. I would not do a leverage trade on Floki, as you get wiped out real quick. If something bad happens, you get wiped out real quick. But you could be looking for this. Don't know if the market wants to give it. And then of course your low is going to be, actually we'll drop it just slightly below that. I don't really want to see it come below the weekly low, but, and then of course your target will be much greater. I mean, you can say something like this could take place in here, maybe. But then you're looking here, I always put it towards the 50. And then if the market were to give you more, then it would give you more. But if you weren't long and you were looking for that, let me bring this out. It could be something, it could look for an opportunity if it rejects in here. and you can get a move back down. Let's put a, let me just, I'm gonna put it here, and then let me switch this to this. So that, let me make sure I got that on the right thing. Yeah, I do. All right. So that could probably work. And I'm assuming that it comes up and it fills in completely here. And that's what I'm looking at. And then you can see how the golden pocket would be here if that were to happen. So that could be your, that could be an entry point. That could be an entry point. We'll see how that goes. If it works, I'll check back in on it at some point. And it's a couple of days out. All right. With that said, that's really all the time I have for today. Just a little quick update, play around here in the market, see what's happening. Look back here over at Ethereum. See how that's going. Yeah. Like I said, you can see those bears trying to pile in here. So you're trying to hold this where we were looking at when we first came on stream this morning. You're trying to hold this. This could be a bounce, like I said, continuing to respect this trend line down here. You're slightly below it. I look for price to come back up above it. Maybe try again, and then it didn't quite make its way up here to this next pool of orders. Let me make sure those orders are still sitting in here too. You know, it will get tricky. I mean, it's barely, it doesn't look exactly like it did earlier. I can tell you that. So it has changed a little bit in terms of what I was looking at earlier on. Let me see. Yeah, a lot has changed. So this may not even be a thing anymore. Sometimes the market will show these orders and then, you know, it's BS. But you are back below here. If you continue to respect this trend line right here, maybe it bounces away. If it manages to come down here, maybe it bounces away. Then I'll be looking for a break back above here. I want to, I mean, if it comes here, then you can take the risk here, assuming that it doesn't break down. You can take the risk here. And if you start to lose it, then you can, you know, maybe look to your low as your stop. And then that way you're trading into this instead of, I mean, you have a nice space in between it, at least. Or you can just wait for it to break back above it, because it didn't hold that time. You got this big, beautiful inefficiency right here. Price might come back for this thing right here. Not today. If not today, change the color. Just too many dashes. Not today. We could do this later. I want to say this is in line with this trend line. It would have to be one massive candle drop for that to happen. Doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. Can extend this line out. I just put it on the line bias. Do it like that. That looks like it might be a little off. Okay, so I do it like that. And this is Floki feels in the full thing, but for the most part, so Floki I would say is just feeling an inefficiency instead of a gap bounce. Because usually what I look for on fair value gaps is for the midpoint to be the point that price doesn't start closing below. That is what I like to look for. I just wanted to add it in here so we can see where it is, what that number is. And I'm going to take that away because it's just an extra line. So I can see what that is in case something like this is to happen. Like I'm saying, it doesn't have to be something that takes place today, but it is something to look back at potentially. It's an efficiency in here. If not, start closing below here, then I would think that they're coming back down here just to fill it in completely. But that's it. Bitcoin. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Did I have us on Bitcoin chart the entire time and didn't even? Oh my freaking gosh. I've been running my mouth this whole time. Oh my gosh. Did I do that? And no one said a word. That's freaking ridiculous. That is freaking ridiculous. I hope I did not do that. And I think I may have talked this entire time just going through those altcoins and nobody saw anything I was talking about. I am going to freak out when I go back and watch this video and I find out that that is what I did. I am totally going to freak out. All right, if I find out that that is what I did, I promise you I will come back on stream later today and just fill you in on everything I covered. Oh my freaking God. This is what I was saying over here for Ethereum. I can see now that I do actually have it on this screen here, but oh my gosh. All right, I am freaking out at this moment. Okay, so we got the push up here. Didn't quite make it into what I saw some orders sitting at here. To see the short starting to pile in after we got the break above this line here, because we were chiseling here earlier this morning when we took a look at it. Back down below it now. Want to see if price can hold this trend line here. Looked at this trend line here earlier from whatever this was over here. I don't want to say it was an ascending broadening formation, but it looks like that could have been what it was here before it got to break up. But you can see this trend line here and how we came back here and tested it and got the bounce away from it. We come back down. You want to see it hold again. If not, it's more than likely it could be breaking back inside. If you wanted to take some sort of risk, then I would tell you to take the risk here, or either wait to see if we can break back above this line here. You come back in. There is a nice gap in here. Now, first of all, there's some orders in here. There's some limit orders sitting in here for this pivot. So maybe you come in and you can do that. If not, and just stretch this out a little bit, then you can see what that is, 41.43, 41.35, something in here. If not, then in terms of a fair value gap, I like to see the midpoint of the gap to hold. I do not like to see price start closing below here, but you do have the entire range of this inefficiency. So for just a fair value gap tap, I'm looking for the midpoint to hold. That's 41.19, or you can say 41.20, just round that up. That's what you'd be looking for here. There is a trend line here as well that could give it some sort of additional confluence here for this midpoint of this fair value gap to hold. And if that's not the case, and I just stretched it out a little bit so I could, it just looked better if I had it pulled out a little bit more, then you could fill in the entire efficiency. You could fill in this entire efficiency. So I would just watch that here on the 15-minute time frame. Just some faster price action that could take place. It's here from this 15. I feel like garbage right now. If that is what I did, I feel like total garbage right now. All right. Crap. Like I was saying, I was busy running my mouth. I wasn't even paying attention to the additional long position that I took on Bitcoin, which was from this breakup here when we started. Actually, right before the stream started, I went ahead and entered because we were here. The stream starts at 5, unfortunately. So I didn't get a chance to share this with anybody else, but it doesn't matter because price is coming back down to my entry now. So yeah, I waited for us to push back above this because we were flattening out. We were hammering this high in here earlier, and we were creating these highs down here. So this was a likely place that price was looking to break up and push up. So maybe it's just a back test. And if it is, then I'll just add something in here and continue to look for price to get up here into this zone here. We will end up leaving a gap behind if we do continue trying to push up on price action. That's for sure. We'll come back. We'll have a CME gap. And then, the masses, including myself, will be looking for that CME gap to get filled if price does manage to push up higher here over the weekend for Bitcoin. But for now, I do want to see this whole. Otherwise, I missed my gains because I was running my mouth, and then I didn't even have it on the right screen. Possibly, I didn't even have it on the right screen as I was doing all of that talking. And I'm going to be really upset with myself even more. And nobody said a peep. All right, but I got to go for today. I appreciate anybody who stopped by today. I'm so sorry. I'm going to run back through the video, and then I'll cover anything that, I ran my mouth about and I never shared that tab. And I am so sorry. What a day. I am so sorry. All right, got the Coin King over there. He could have helped, right? He could have saw me talking and said, "Hey, I don't even see it." But until next time, here, actually, let's just watch this. I'm gonna leave this here. We'll watch this. We'll watch this here on Ethereum before I make any moves off of the chart. Steven, I'm so sorry. The Coin King was responding to you, and I don't know, he didn't even mention that you stated that can only see BTC. Oh my freaking God. So you're absolutely right. That is what I did the entire time. Run my mouth, talk about other altcoins, and I never flipped the screen. I am so freaking sorry. I got 1 hour. Nope, no, sir. Never mind. Thank you, Steven. I'm saying nobody ever said anything, and I can see your comment. And he usually goes through and looks at the comments because I'm so busy focusing on the charts. And he apparently missed where you said can only see BTC. I still have an hour. I'm glad that that was mentioned. I don't know if you guys want me to stick over here with Ethereum at this point or go back to what I talked about earlier. I am so sorry. I will come back on later, actually. I will come back on later for this for a stream, and then I would just cover those altcoins that I covered today because those were some good ones where you could start looking for some really nice gains from. All right, getting that little reaction there off of that trend line as I was stating on here over on Ethereum. Like I said, you could take risks there, and then you would be coming into this resistance here, or you can wait for price to get above this resistance and then look to see if it can go higher. Your greatest chance is right here if you got that. Oh man. Mm-mm-mm. It's already 8 o'clock. I need a partner. Let me say that right now. I need somebody to stream with. I need a partner to do these videos with. It is really hard for me to keep up with doing all of this stuff, flip flopping in between the screens and, trying to check on comments. And yeah, I can multitask, but to be honest with you, and I said this yesterday to the Coin King, like I really need somebody to join me. I know it won't be him because he's really busy, but I just need somebody who's good to do this with me. It goes a long way having people that just help support a channel. Because, yeah. Or maybe I need to add some chimes or something, some bells or something when something pops up in chat or something. I don't know. But that's what I'm looking for. All right. That was 3 hours of this. Oh my gosh. All right. We know that this is a challenge in here. Same place that we were looking at the resistance before again. Like I said, you could take it off of that trend line, expecting for price to continue to respect it, or you can just wait and see if we get above this resistance. We'll see if this is still a thing. And those orders were really minimized in here. So not so sure. Most of the long orders are sitting down here. Most of the long orders, I can move this now because that was from yesterday where I took a long at. Most of the long orders are sitting down here. So people are waiting for price to come back in and back test this previous high here on this 4 hour. I mean, this 15-minute time frame. They're looking for this. It's quite a few orders sitting in here. And that would mean coming back below this fair value gap in here. That would mean that. If these orders are to get filled. Sorry about that again. Please, I gotta look into why it continues to do that. I'm not actually sure if it is Restream that does that or if it's I have these arms on the back of my I have these arms on my screen and they may not be matching up perfectly. It could be that too. So I have to figure out where that's coming from. I just know ever so often that will happen. I'm just gonna stretch this out a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna take up this entire space right here. I'm gonna tell you this right here. So do watch this throughout the day because I know I won't be able to come back on stream until it'll be about somewhere between 6 and 7. I know that that would be a late stream, but that is the time that I can come back on just to recover those altcoins because those were some good altcoins to look at. Uh, if it starts to chop in here, you're not really getting up here, or you start to reject in here. But if it really starts to just hang around in here between, I want to say this ascending trend line here and this price action, if it remains within here throughout the day, it could be that we break back inside. And that's what I would start to be looking at, some of the stuff that's down here, to see if we could get a bounce around where these orders are at. I'm going to move this up, and I'm just going to do it like that, just off of that body. The numbers were the numbers, but I'm going to push it up a little bit. So you could look for the orders in here to get filled and maybe give price a bounce, but this could continue to be a little bit of a problem. So if we keep whipping it, if we keep whips on this, then we'll likely break back in and look back at this. But your largest amount of orders, again, are sitting here on this high. That is where your largest amount of orders are sitting at. And we've already done this back test here on this weekly. So that could be where you want to, do your long. I'm going to drop this onto that. And even if that happened, I mean, you shouldn't actually be coming back down here. You shouldn't have to put in a 1 point. Heck no. This either works or it doesn't. But you would be looking for, I can at least do a 50 though. I mean, it's really up to you what your max pain is, but these orders to get filled. And then, like I said, this could continue to be an issue. It could. Let me see what that was. So that was also a golden pocket back test here as well with this ascending trend line. And if we come down, you'd be talking about an entire 786. Let's just say if it was to not manage to take out this pivot here, this little peak here on the 15-minute time frame, then you'd be looking at a 786 here instead of just the bottom side of the this gap, this inefficiency here. This is your greatest risk to reward is in here. Can't guarantee that happens, but that is your greatest risk to reward, is if you can get it back in here. And I actually think you will get it back here. You just got to be patient for it. I really do think you will get price back here at least. You may not do this again, but I do think you'll get it back here for sure. Just going to take some patience on that happening. So you don't have to buy the tops. I mean, if you bought this, that's great. It's a scalp, and if it gives more, then you didn't miss out on the opportunity. But like I said, maybe Tuesday, something like that, we'll see prices roll back down a bit. Could happen on Mondays too, but Mondays you still missing a lot of that institutional money on Mondays. So you really start to see what price action is doing on Tuesday. And you have between Tuesday and Wednesday. All right. Oh my gosh. I can look back at Floki real quick. Sorry. And this is what I was saying on Floki. Jeez. What I was saying on Floki is that you could come up and see a rejection here. And if you see a rejection here and you're not already in a long position on Floki, then you can look for price action to come back in here to fill out this little gap in here. I dropped it in. No, it's exactly where I had it at. Here, I just did the overhang just in case, but that is what I would be looking for. Floki tends to respect fair value gaps or inefficiencies, and it happens to fill them in pretty good. So what I was looking at over here, I was covering before I added this and this on here. Like if I go out to the weekly time frame, these were some gaps that I had on the chart, and I had these here for a long time. And you can see how price action reacted with these. So this was all the way back here, and you can see how when we came up, we rejected. And even over here, like you got above it a little bit, but then you slipped back down through it, and then you had this gap that was over here. So Floki price does tend to come back into gaps. So you had this one right here that gave a quick rejection in here, and now it's acting as resistance again. So I just added this back into the chart, just slid it out and add it back in. I just slid it forward to just kind of look at where price action might be struggling at and where I think price action will get to. So I am looking at price action getting back up here to this point here. Floki was putting in some lower highs, so I'm not looking at this with the expectation that it's going to put in a higher high. But like I said, if the market gives you a higher high, then you're getting something extra. And if it doesn't, then you're not surprised that this is where you stopped out at and that you could see another rejection back down. You had this little gap in here, here, and you can see how price came up and rejected off of that gap there. Price came down, respected this gap here. I wouldn't be looking for price to come back below here. I wouldn't be looking for it to do that. But there was no other, I mean, you have this little bit of a gap in here right now, which is in line with where you have these momentum lines at. But another thing that I was showing over here, and I'm just going to hide this. What did I hide? Another thing that I was looking at in here, because I did cover, let's see, we're looking at the EMAs, and I was saying that the EMAs look pretty good over here for Floki, which is why I'm not looking back down here towards this gap. I'm just looking in here and looking for price action to hold the previous week low for Floki at the least, or come back in here and, like what I showed you from the daily time frame, maybe you get a little bit of a rejection there. And if you're not already long, then you can be looking for price to come back here and get long on Floki to look to ride this thing up. It does have a nice little squeeze on it. It does have a squeeze. It's already broken. It's already hit the expansion for that squeeze. So here, where I normally show where you have your return and your expansion, you had your return here at this low, and then your expansion was here. So you can see that price action has already started the expansion phase from this squeeze here. And you've had some nice moves anytime you got it. The only thing that I could say about this squeeze breakout here is, and let me do it from the common Bollinger. So just from the common Bollinger, I mean, you can see it on the other one too, but I like to use this. So you're still within your standard deviation 1 and 2. So you're still in the bullish control zone from the squeeze, which means that you should be continuing up. Even if you did manage to get a rejection here and maybe you bing bong around in here a little bit more, I still be looking for prices to push up, and I'm looking for prices to get here. Based on the squeeze, that's what I'm looking for price to do. Now you did get a discrepancy here. And in the past, when that happened, a reversal took place. That's the only thing, but it doesn't have to be as aggressive as it was over here. It doesn't have to be. But anytime, like over here, you got two girthy green bars over here, and then you got some sort of an inconsistency in that break or that push higher. You got an inconsistency in here, which is why this flipped to red. Instead of being green, it flipped to red. And then you started to get a retracement. And I think over here, let's see, if I just go off of that high to that low, you ended up getting somewhere close to about a 65% correction off of that. And then price pushed up an additional time, which put in a bear div. And then you got the bigger drop down. And then you did the same thing over here where you got the push out of the Bollinger. And then you got another red flip. And then you got another rejection. So that's my only hang up right now with Floki chart is you got this green bar and then you got the red candle. You could have already played this out. You may have. I can't guarantee that you have. But what I'm saying, that price should not, based on the Bollinger strategy, you should be holding here. And you shouldn't see prices come back below here. You're not really coming into your standard deviation 2 here at the lows. This one, with this Bollinger here, it moves around, it curves, it doesn't flatten out. It doesn't actually flatten out. And with this one, it does flatten out. But you don't put in, you wouldn't be expecting for it to come back below here and put in a new low. You wouldn't be expecting that. Based on what I'm seeing, you should be holding that standard deviation 1, which is here. So standard deviation 1 on the bottom side of the Bollinger is here. So you should be holding this here. And then this wouldn't be a thing anymore, or it shouldn't be a thing anymore for price action. And that's my only hang up is, you got this red bar in here. I don't know what that's going to do to price action. But you are still within the squeeze. You are still within the breakout. You can't see it from this one, but you can see it from the standard Bollinger. Based on this one, you're breaking down. Based on this one, because you're below your return right now. You're trying to push back up into it, which is where I'm saying you could see that rejection. And maybe you come back here again, and then you can get long and look to ride it up. Or at least be risk on if you're not already in a long for Floki. And I would just do spot on this. I wouldn't consider doing any sort of leverage plays on this at all. And these two yellow boxes, again, those are just based on your daily time frame. And the way I drew that fib was based on this low of this inefficiency here to this bottom side here of this inefficiency here, or this high of this inefficiency. And that does put you, actually, that's not how I did that, is it? No, that's not how I did that. I can't remember how I did it now. I can't remember how I did it now. I had it perfectly, and honestly, I've forgotten my train of thought on even how I did it. But anyway, that is what I'll be looking for, because Floki seems to work really well with inefficiencies, and I'm going to call it inefficiencies for the sake of Floki, simply because it actually fills in the inefficiency all the way. So I was showing you over here, you had an inefficiency here. Floki fills them in completely. So when you have one, like this seems to work really well with this particular coin. It tends to come back to any of the fair value gaps and it fills them in. And you don't get many because it's a meme coin. And so when it explodes and then it chops. So you'll get a nice big candle and then you'll chop. And that's how it works. You had one over here. Now this one didn't fill in completely the first time. It just came back in and tapped it there, and then it pushed up, and then it came one other time here and filled it in here, and you got another little push out of it. But it's really the larger time frames that I like to look at for the gaps on Floki, the larger time frames. But you don't have another one. Not here in the larger time frame. That was it. You had this one, you got this one, and then you have one that's in here. You have this one. I just didn't map it out, but you do have this one here. And of course you had the one that was in here, and then you can see how it filled that one in completely, because that's what it does. It loves to come back into those gaps. That's Floki. If you're not already long, you can look for something there on Floki. See, it's 8:33. I did look at say DOT. I gave you a target for DOT. So sorry. And the target for DOT is just back up here to where the VWAP is located at. So right now, DOT is in some sort of a falling little pizza right here. It looks relatively weak in my opinion, based on some other things. But then there's this situation where DOT has his squeeze. So DOT has a return here. So the return on DOT is at $4.80. And then your expansion starts at, let me make sure I lock this down. Your expansion for Polkadot starts at $5.39 if you're in Polkadot. So you do have this nice little falling pizza right here. I know that the price action is squeezing on Polkadot, and why the target is here, where this VWAP is located at, is because this is where you stopped out the last two times. So I just measured off of the bottom here from this expansion, well, from the bottom of this indicator here, just to the top side here, and it just happens to coincide with where VWAP is at. So that's all I'm looking for in terms of the target. You have the squeeze here. That's why I'm saying your return is here. So likely price does return here. It came up this one time here. It does happen once you get the breakout. So once you get the breakout of this little falling pizza and you come into your return point, and then you'd be looking for price to expand and push up into here. And I was explaining how with this one here, this particular Bollinger here that flattens out, I know to look for prices to go up because it flattens out. And this top side, the red one to be the one to drop when prices are looking to go higher. The green one to be the one to rise when prices are looking to go lower. And that's how I use this. So when this starts to rise off of the bottom, because this is expanding, this is going to rise up. It's going to flatten out. You're going to look for a return here, and then you're going to look for an expansion here. And then so you got that expansion there. Same thing here. You got the drop here. You got the return here. You got the expansion here. And you got the push up. So I'm looking for dot to get, to come to the return and the expansion, and then the push up here. And I'm just targeting where we have this VWAP located at. Over time, this will start to change a little bit. At least VWAP may start to change a little bit over time. But nonetheless, this is what I'm looking for. Again, my expectations are not for a higher high here. But if the market gives a higher high, then that's something extra that goes into your pocket and you weren't expecting it. Same thing happened over here because you're rolling over. You start to get your drop here, your return, and your expansion. You tried it over here. It didn't work out as well over here. So you didn't get the expansion. You actually started the expansion, but you didn't do too well with it right there. So you can see how you got no closure at your expansion. You didn't get a closure above it. You wicked it, and then you got the rejection for the continuation down there. And then another thing that I did share over here on dot chart 2. Actually, let me go out to your monthly time frame. Oh, hold on. Let me go back to your weekly once again and say this. So on your standard Bollinger Band, you're ranging in between standard deviation 1 and 2. So you want to continue to do that with dot. You don't want to start seeing price lose the standard deviation 1 on the lower side. So you do want to continue to respect that previous week low. Like you can wick it all day long. You don't want to start closing below your standard deviation 1. And then to the upside, you're looking to actually, like I said, break out and expand and push up because you do have that nice squeeze here. And it has worked every other time before too. Let's see. Let me push out on the monthly here on dot again, tagging around here at your standard deviation 1. You've been trying to get above the standard deviation 1, and you can see how you have not been getting any closures above it. So when we get this, we got so much time left on this monthly. I know that, but at some point, just check back on your monthly and see where price is into relation to your standard deviation 1. If we're not already pushing out and expanding and coming up here, if we're not already doing this, then check on that. It would be nice to see a monthly squeeze over here. That would be nice. And then I look back at this one here. Yeah, so that goes perfectly with where I'm saying the target is. I didn't actually look at this the first time, even though I didn't have it on this screen. I didn't look at that the first time. And then I was saying the only thing that I'm really not impressed with is how I like to see this drop into price action a little bit more. It doesn't mean you can't come above it, because you can. Clearly it's done that before. It's just a better chart, which is why I'm not looking for targets all the way up here just yet, because this needs to stop going flat and sideways, and it needs to start dropping down. It needs to start dropping. And if it starts to do that, then I would, change my perspective and say, hey, this thing is looking to, because you can, let me see. Try 2-day. Let's see what I get from a 2-day. You want to be able to ride on the upside of the cloud the same way you do when you're down below it. Like, it's nasty when you're down below it. So I don't like that. I like this better, to look for better pumps in the market, when it does some sort of a drop like this, and then price pushes up above it, and then you start to ride the outside of it. I just like that better. You did it again right here. Yeah, and see, you're starting to do it here, so I know that Polkadot is more than likely about to get that expansion and then that breakup here. It's just a little bit of patience on dot for that to happen. But it's starting to look really, really good. It's looking really, really good, in my opinion. It's hopefully nothing messes it up. Hopefully nothing messes it up. And I think that was, yeah. I live by the interstate, and all of that is not necessary. But they make all that loud noise with those engines or mufflers or whatever it is. I don't know. So that's dot in a nutshell. I'm just looking for a break out of this little falling formation here, a push into the return and the expansion, and then this target up here to get hit on dot. Same thing pretty much for what did I say? I know I looked at render. Hold on, let me make sure I didn't cover this on dot. No, I didn't use that when I talked about that. Let's see, AVAX. It was AVAX for sure. All right, so AVAX, you're just in a range. This could be your accumulation range in here for AVAX. So you got this low down here where you get your bounces away, and you've been getting rejected here. So price is coming back up to here again. And I think with AVAX, it may have, let me delete that. It may have had a squeeze as well. And it does. And you've already hit a return, but you haven't done the expansion yet. And so your expansion happens from where you've been getting the rejections at. Of course, it lines up perfectly for where your expansion would take place, and then you'd be looking for price to push out. Otherwise, you're just coming back here and you're looking for another rejection on this chart. But you can just draw your little box across there. That's 26.49.1 to 27.41.5 here for this little box here. Basically looking, I mean, the top side is all you really need. 27.41.5 for AVAX. So want to see that expansion take place, and it looked like it could be about to happen for AVAX as well. I can't guarantee it here on this one, but that it's about to happen here. It's still it's kind of flat. It was flat in here too, but yeah, it worked out fine. But you do have a nice squeeze here on AVAX. Just got to get past that trouble spot here. And then you can look at it with this one too. Yeah, beautiful squeeze. Beautiful squeeze. And I know it's looking to go higher. This was the other thing that I was sharing. So I know it's looking to go higher. You got the RSI squeeze in here too. This is starting to look really nice. The only issue that you're having in here is that this is so spaced out. And I don't like when it's spaced out like that, because the first thing the RSI hits is this yellow signal line here, which means acceleration. And so you end up getting, let me take that Bollinger away for a minute. You end up getting these big candle drops on your weekly, or either a big candle pump on your weekly. When it drops down, it's a big candle to the downside. When it breaks above it, it's a big candle to the upside. And you want to see this start to come. You want to see this blue line cross up above this yellow line for actual strong momentum and not still chopping sideways. So at the moment, it is still chopping sideways. I don't know if you're going to get that expansion immediately coming back up into that that zone of resistance here. That's it. But down here at the lows, if you look at, if you use MACD, this is something that I was sharing that didn't come through. Actually, let me push this one. I hate that you can't get it exact, but and then it's this one over here, and then there's this one here. So what I was explaining with this, and then you had the one that was over here. I was explaining where to start your accumulation from, so you're not just buying something that's falling all the time. So you got your delta crossing up your MACD, not the MACD signal line or any of that. Just change your delta from a column to a line chart. So when your delta crosses up the MACD, that's the time to start accumulating on your altcoins. And then that accumulation should lead you into the pump, because that's an indication, because the delta is a leading indicator and the MACD just follows behind. So when you get that cross up from your MACD, from your delta over your MACD, then it's the leading indication of the direction that market is looking to go. So you got that cross up from your delta here. That's where you can start your accumulation at, and then you're looking for your prices to do something nice like that. You got another cross up right here. So you never did get another cross down, but you did get, actually you did, you got a cross down here. So you got the cross down here. So this is leading into saying, hey, let me make sure that cross happened. Yeah, that cross happened. Delta was still going up at the time, so you do want to see the delta start to pivot down. But it was still going up at the time. So if it's still rising, then you're looking for it to pivot down. But when you get your cross and you know that some sort of a correction is coming in on whatever you're trading, and then this happened to do about a 45% drop off of that high after the delta confirmed that there was going to be some sort of selling to likely come in here. You also got a bear div, so where it pushed up a little extra, you got a bear div. So eventually you ended up getting a much larger push down. And then here you got another cross up here from your delta crossing above your MACD. Another accumulation time here for your long setup on your spot bags, right? So then you get your nice little push up, and then you look back for your delta crossing back down your MACD to say, hey, maybe I want to start taking some profits in here, because then you start to get another drop there. So you're at the phase now where this, again, I believe is accumulation. And so you're sideways right now. You're ranging around here really tightly around the zero line here for with your MACD and your delta. So some sort of an explosive move is expected to take place here. I'm looking for this explosive move to take place to the upside. So you've had your accumulation phase in here. This is your accumulation phase in here for that breakout and that push up here on AVAX. So that's my thing, my take with AVAX. But I think the chart looks really good. I do want to see the momentum start to change over here, because if it had really strong momentum, then this would be rising a lot more. And right now it's still relatively flat. So I do want to see that blue signal line for the RSI start to rise a little bit more and start to converge more here with this yellow one. But overall, I think that, it's pretty nice. I wouldn't accumulate again in here unless it's maybe, I don't want to see it come back here, and neither do you. You want to see it continue to hold here above this previous week low here. And you do want to see the expansion take place. So either you're waiting for the expansion to happen you can risk on here if you want to, as this is the accumulation zone, but you never know what might happen. Something can be printed in the news tomorrow, and none of this works out, right? So that's the thing here with AVAX. let me put this back on Ethereum, and then unfortunately I do have to go. So I hate that. I really do. All right, like I said, you're gonna have a little bit of struggle here around this point here. So just continue to watch that. If price stays in here, you're likely gonna come back in here and break down. Break down into one of these zones. Your greatest risk to reward is gonna be here. Quite a bit of orders lined up in here at the moment. You know, they're not fake orders, quite a bit of orders in here, but don't get trapped. It is the weekend, and you know how that goes. With that said, I will see you later. Enjoy the rest of your day.